Today we're going to talk about mortgage lenders and their licensing and why it's something you may want to pay attention to as a home buyer. So first of all, if you're new to the channel, I am licensed in 48 states. This is actually fairly unusual for the type of mortgage lender I am. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what the deal is. Okay, so here's the deal. If I worked at a bank, guys, I could be licensed in all 50 states with no additional education, no additional fees. Like, you don't even have to have 2 years, 4 years, 10 years of experience. If it's a loan officer working at a bank, they automatically have 50 states at their disposal. It's because of the way NMLS and Dodd-Frank looked at banks versus brokers versus mortgage lenders. Banks have like this just unimaginable, power where they're like, oh, well, at banks, they train people so they can just have access to everything. The loan officers don't have to do anything. It's cool. That's legit what it is, guys. That is literally what it is. They are not taking additional education or anything else. Now, for brokers, it's pretty unusual for them to be licensed in multiple states, and that's because of the additional requirements. Also, if they're brokers, they're generally running their own shop. There's different compliance. There can be a lot of fees to it. So it's not at this point, and that could change. You don't see a lot of it. You might see a broker who has 2, 3, maybe 7 licenses, but you're not going to see them taking on most of the country. Now, call centers are different. So a call center is going to say, oh, we're licensed in 50 states, but who your call gets routed to will be based on the states that they're licensed in. So those loan officers might be licensed in, 5, 6, 10 states. It's unusual for someone to be licensed in, 40 to 50 states because unless you're at a bank, because remember, if you're at a bank, it's all free, it's all cool, you don't have to do anything. Yeah, it's expensive otherwise. It's expensive. So, if you're like, oh, well, if I had a call center, I would have everyone licensed in 50 states. No, you wouldn't, because for a loan originator to be licensed, like I'm in 48 states and it costs me over $15,000 a year in fees. Yeah, that's what it costs. It's over $15,000, guys. And I also have to do a ton of education. So if you're thinking about the call center, does the call center want to pay that much for every single employee, so that they could answer a phone no matter who it? No, of course not. Of course not. They're going to have the phone calls get routed to the people licensed in those states. Now, the type of lender I am is I'm considered a correspondent lender. I work for a mortgage company. It's not a bank. We sell direct to Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, and then we have a bunch of investors, but I'm not a broker. I work for a large corporation that has a ton of compliance, and a lot of resources, tech, everything we need, right? Guaranteed rate. I'm sure you guys have seen them somewhere. Maybe you've seen them when you're watching baseball. I don't know. So in the world that I am, there's not a lot of us that are licensed in as many states as I am. Some people might have the bulk, whether it's cross-country, guaranteed rate, guild, most lenders are generally local unless they're at a call center. And the local lender, they're only going to have a state. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. If there's absolutely nothing wrong with having one state. Having 48 doesn't mean you're better at all. It just means you pay a lot of money and you do a lot of classes so that you have the ability to help as many people as you can. It's just different. So, because a lot of times real estate agents are always taken aback because they're like, well, wait a second, you must be a call center because you're in so many states. And it's like, no, I'm just a different animal. So at my company right now, there's probably about 5 people that are similar to me. They're top loan officers, they're local lenders that have gone national because there's a demand outside of their little area to help, right? So I think we're going to see more of that, but someone had asked me, what's the process? It's intense, and it's stupid, and I'm going to tell you why. So I literally was at a machine getting my finger. This was when I first got licensed in all the different states. I've slowly been building, right? I had like 4 states I was getting at the same time, and I had to get separate fingerprints for each state, okay? Pay like $125 to the state to look at those fingerprints. I had to go get the fingerprints, which was like another 50 bucks, right? It was the same machine for all 4 states. Yeah, that's the thing. And that's what you see with a lot of this. And then it's all tied to NMLS, and they have charges for everything. That's how it ends up being, you know, when you're actually getting your license, it's more, all those licenses, it's more than $15,000 because you're paying for additional background checks. They don't share them. You're paying for additional fingerprinting. They don't share them. It's very bizarre. It's like if you work at a bank, the United States is one. If you work for anyone else, each state is like a different country, and you have to do the same thing in many cases for each state, but it has to be separate, and you can't use anything from the other states. So that is one of the many reasons you don't see a lot of lenders having as many licenses as I do. The reason I have so many is, look, I'm on YouTube, and I didn't know what was going to happen with it, but as I started getting calls around the country, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to say no to this person. I don't want to say, like, you know, and it grew and it grew and it grew. And right now, you know, the only 2 I don't have are Utah and Rhode Island, because I'm a holdout, right? But, you know, it's something I'm going to continue to do. Now, the education requirement, once again, if you're at a bank, you don't have to do this because the bank has training. I've worked at a bank, guys. I know what the training is. It's nowhere near. I have to do education for all the states. Some states require additional, some don't. So like, for instance, no matter what state, I have to do a basic 8, but then like New York is another 4. New Jersey's a number 3. There's a bunch of states that are another 2 hours. There's some that are another hour. And this is every single year. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably laugh because you'll see, you know, summer, fall, I start doing all that education. I'm cleaning out my closets. I'm doing everything I can while I listen to it, click through it, everything else, because it's literally a ridiculous amount of hours when you add it all up. So to people who are lenders who are like, Jen, should I get 48 states? Guys, if you have people calling you from around the country that you can help and you're going to treat them right, get those licenses. If you're like, well, I don't have anyone calling me, but I should just get them. You know, I wouldn't have all these licenses unless people were calling and working with me, because it's expensive. I mean, that's so much money, and my company doesn't pay for that. I pay for that. And then on top of that, you know, I've got my team. My team, there's so much licensing, you guys have no idea, and I pay for that too. Because I'm not going to make my team pay for their licensing. That's not right. So it gets very expensive very quick. So as a lender, unless you have a game plan for being in so many states, I would say maybe hold off. As a banker, if you're a banker, congratulations, you've done nothing. As a consumer, you know, doesn't mean someone's better or not. It just means they have more licenses, they can do more states. If you're in a situation where you're not sure what state you want to live in, or you want to be able to work with a lender that can help you no matter where your adventure takes you, except for Utah and Rhode Island, that's why people like me are around, right? You know, I do a lot of VA, and I don't want to miss a client on a PCS move. So anyways, I hope this video was helpful. Hey, weigh in. Do you think it's bullshit that the banks don't, like, if you're a bank loan officer, you don't have to do anything and you get access to 50 states, whereas I'm spending like 2 weeks doing additional education every year and spending $15,000+ for the same privileges? Weigh in. Is this right? I don't know. I don't think so. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys.